Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Girl with MS on MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. I'm Caroline Craven, a.k.a. the Girl with MS, where living with multiple sclerosis is more than just an illness. It's a way to empower our lives by making positive change. Over the course of our time together, we will be sharing many experiences with other MS patients and experts across the country. As we know, MS is a snowflake disease and no two are alike. Every time we get the upper hand on this illness, we like to say, take that MS. Today, we are especially grateful to be talking with Kathy Reagan Young, who has MS. You're going to hear her story in a bit, and she is the founder of FUMSnow.com. I got to meet Kathy live in Nashville last year when we were doing some advocacy work. And, it's just amazing meeting people with MS that you just connect with, and they're doing so much in this world. So thank you and welcome, Kathy.
Yay! Yay! Thank you, Caroline. This is quite a treat to be here with you. Thanks so much for inviting me.
You bet. Oh, this is wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your journey with MS. That would be
sure.
Great. When you're diagnosed, the whole spiel.
Sure, and it's really interesting that we're doing this today because I realized today that it is 10 years ago today, actually, that I knew something was wrong. So I'll pick it up there. Yeah, I got up. Everything was normal in my day, and that I had these two little kids I had to make breakfast for and make lunch for, and I had slept well the night before, but oh my gosh, was I tired. And it was a different kind of tired than I had ever experienced before. I didn't feel like I could sleep tired, but oh my gosh, just walking, my legs were so heavy. And I remember making the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and my arms were I remember picking up the piece of bread going, how did this get so heavy? It was weird. I finished that. I sat down really hard in the chair in the kitchen, looked out my back window. I'm looking at the kids, toys and things in the backyard, and I thought, there's something screwy about the way I'm seeing. Like my vision, something's off. And it wasn't anything I could describe. It wasn't, there were no black dots. It wasn't double vision, nothing like that. It was... just something was not right, and I knew it. And, of course, I poo-pooed that for a couple of days, just laid around and thought, well, I'm sick, and I've got little kids, and they're running me ragged, and whatever. And my husband insisted that we go see a doctor about 3 days in. I'm thinking it's the flu. But literally, I walked in there, and I laid on the floor in the reception room. I was so tired, and then got back to the room, the examination room, laid down there. She came in. It was a primary care, so she knew something was not right. She did some rudimentary neurological tests, and she sent me, actually, she was going to just send me to have a CAT scan. And as luck would have it, I do marketing. I have a marketing company here in Virginia, and I was doing marketing for an ophthalmologist at the time, and I contacted him and I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm under the weather, but my vision's kind of screwy and I'm so tired. I'm just really not feeling well. I'm sure it's the flu. We'll put it off for a week or so. And he called me immediately and he said, what do you mean your vision's off? Can you meet me in my office in the morning at 7? So that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But I went in, and before I left, he had made me an appointment to go see a neurologist and get an MRI, and I did, and I had all these daggone lesions all over my brain, and they said, congratulations, you have MS. So that's how it all started for me, and it's been quite the journey since. It's just so, weird and ironic, I guess, that I'm talking to you, and that was
Yeah.
literally 10 years ago today.
Wow. That is. Yeah. And amazing how much has changed in the 10 years. And how are you doing today with your MS?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. In fact, I just did a little Facebook Live on my Facebook page for FUMS to sort of commemorate the day, but more importantly to say, particularly for those who were newly diagnosed or awaiting a diagnosis, that I would have never thought my life would be where it is today 10 years ago when I heard that, those faded words, "You've got MS." I'm a healthcare advocate now. I have this page that I get to talk with other MSers and learn all the interesting things that they're doing. I no longer work outside the home, but that was by necessity and choice, frankly, both. I mean, I had been working for someone else doing their marketing for a physical therapy company, and oh my gosh, we knew it was time for me to no longer be under that amount of stress and doing that kind of traveling, because I literally one day could not tell the difference between the gas pedal and the brake pedal in my car. It was so scary, and I didn't know which lane was the correct lane for me to be in. So thankfully I had presence of mind enough to just pull over and call my husband. But, that was kind of the flag. But so now I've got this wonderful home-based business, and I get to support and talk to other MSers, and I'm doing well. I've been through different medications and, certainly plenty of flares as well. I don't want to pretend that it's just been, no problems at all, but it hasn't been as horrific a situation as I would have thought it was going to be, based purely on what I found on the internet as I was searching, which is really what was the impetus for me starting that FUMSnow.com page, because I thought if I can save just one person from thinking that this is a death sentence like was portrayed to me, then it's a win.
Yeah, an absolute win. On your website, you say, I help MS warriors, caregivers, and families who struggle with a feeling of a loss of control to gain confidence in dealing with this disease by providing information, inspiration, and motivation, and a little attitude. Hashtag FUMS.
That's right.
I love it. Tell us about that a bit. I know when I met you, you were handing out orange middle fingers. Yes,
I do. I paint my middle finger orange when I do any kind of MS event or when I'm having a really bad day. It's my little homage, my little salute to this disease. And I do say FUMS every single day, which is very helpful. And what you just read on my site there really is my mission. I felt like so freaking out of control. I mean, I felt like they told me that I had a disease, and then they said, here, decide what drugs you want to take. Like, you need to take these drugs. It wasn't a question of will we look at anything else. This is, you need to be on a drug. Let's pick a drug. You need to do that. In fact, my doctor, who I pretty quickly fired, but at that time he was telling me, you can't, it's good that you're not working right now because you really shouldn't work. And there's nothing you can do with your diet to help. And don't do any exercise. That's really bad for you. And I just felt like I was done too, and I didn't have a voice in it, and I just felt like once MS showed up in my life, it took over my life, and I didn't want to feel like that anymore, and I wanted to help empower others to know every single step of this journey is within the realm of possibility for you to help control. So you might not be able to control the disease itself, but there are certainly, ways that you can help control, if nothing else, your attitude toward it, which is a huge difference, which that's where the FUMS comes in. But also you have a voice. So I think too often we fall prey to the idea that, you know, our doctor knows best for us, and whatever the doctor says is what I'm going to do. And I'm here to tell you that's not all the time true. Ask lots of questions and be a skeptic and learn on your own. But be careful where you learn.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. Be careful where you learn, for sure. So all of that to say, be empowered, because you are empowered. It's your body. It's your choice. You decide to a large degree how this is going to go. If you're going to take drugs or not, which drugs you're going to take, if you're going to change your diet, if you're going to change exercise, if you're going to, you know, if you feel like you need to work from home, and how to make changes to go about doing that. There's a lot within your control, and there's a lot of support out there to be had.
Yeah, there is. And that is, you know, in the light of this whole self-care movement, which is really moving, you just hit on such a key part of taking care of us. I mean, I've fired a few neurologists. I was very fortunate that my first one was excellent, but then she retired. I'm like, doctors aren't allowed to retire.
How dare she?
I know.
Right.
Like, you can't retire. Oh my gosh, it took me forever to find a new one. I mean, it was 4 or 5 years, and I'm in Los Angeles. It's a pretty big area, but when you're dealing with insurance, you know, you're restricted. Yeah, but then I met the one, and I love her, you know, just wonderful.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Like, and the doctors are learning so much more, too. You know, people like us that are helping them. The diet does make a difference. Probiotics, what we eat, how we take care of ourselves.
Yes, and our stress levels, and meditation, and being mindful in everything we do, and grateful. I know you're a big advocate for all of that, and that makes a huge difference, I think, regardless of, you know, whether you have MS or not. I mean, these are all smart things to do in life, period. They just happen to be a little bit smarter if you have a disease.
It is so. That's so true. I you know, it's just basically how to live life, you know, free and clear and clean and reduce the stress. I mean, it's been 17 years for me since I was diagnosed, and almost 17 years to the day too. And it hit me so hard when it hit me. I lost my vision and my ability to walk. I mean, I just looked drunk as a skunk at like 8 in the morning. I'd stumble down the hall. I looked like I'd been hitting the vodka or something, just horrid. Yeah, finally, you know, I never had any idea where my life was going to be, but I didn't worry about it. But, you know, but it was hard. Then it finally started evolving. And then as you do take better care of yourself, though, it is amazing how much we can manage this disease. It's not curable, but it's very treatable and very manageable for a lot of people. And I think that's important to remember that, especially right after the diagnosis, because that's a scary time. I remember I didn't even know what it was. I just said, is it going to kill me? And she said, no. Yeah. I said, okay, bring it on. Let's do this, you know. But scary time, though, you know.
It is a scary time, and I didn't know anything about it either than, well, when I was waiting to get the actual diagnosis, waiting for the MRI results to come back and all of that, that was that sort of limbo time, you know. My mom always said what was her quote? Something was always worse than the realization. Anticipation is worse than the realization. And that's so true. As I sat there wondering, and God forbid doing all this horrible internet research back in the day, that was really the scariest time, just the not knowing. I mean, tell me what I'm dealing with so I can arm myself and deal with it, but this not knowing. And I remember in my research, I remember saying to my husband, I hope it's cancer. I hope it's a brain tumor. And he's like, what in the hell? And I said, well, because what I've read about MS, I mean, I've literally known a couple people who've had a brain tumor, and they have been cured of it.
Wow.
I said, everything I'm reading about MS, there's no cure for this. So I was just floored when he said, you have MS. And I don't know if I was arrogant or just in complete denial. There was no way I thought he was going to say those words. No way. So I was just in shock when he said them. But like I said, it's turned out a whole lot better than I would have ever imagined it. And that's really such an important message to get out to people, particularly, like you said, when you're first diagnosed, because it's so scary. But life goes on. Life goes on, and like I said, it's not a death sentence, but right now it is a life sentence. But there's a whole lot of life in that. There's a lot of life to be had.
I like that. Yeah, not a death sentence. It's a life sentence, and there's a lot of life to be had. You just have to look at it.
Yeah.
I know. I loved getting together in Nashville just because it was so great to see everybody.
Yeah.
And see the positive inspiration that everybody was bringing, because we were all at so many different levels of the illness.
Yes, but you're right. There's something very special about MSers. I mean, I don't know. It's like an open. We haven't had open heart surgery, but we all have open hearts.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It is. It's like we're full of love, and most of us positive energy.
Exactly.
And
we're
we're hard workers.
Yeah.
Type A. Yeah. Little type A personality going on there.
Yeah. Might be part of that too. But yeah, and that was so wonderful in Nashville to be with all of those wonderful MS bloggers and advocates. And I was a little intimidated at first because, I had been reading all of y'all's stuff, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're so good, and I'm such a fan. So I was like this intimidated fangirl, but it was wonderful to meet everybody and see how down to earth and kind and really giving and supportive everybody was. And then when we did that the blog squad, MS Blog Squad Facebook Live, that was so fun. That was really a blast.
That was great. That was great. For the audience, because they may want to check it out, we were there working with a company called iQity, who has done a blood test to help diagnose MS as another diagnostic tool. So we'll have that link up. I know I've got it on my website. We'll do some other stuff, but that's a good one for people to check out. There's just so much is changing. Big pharmaceutical, all the big companies, they understand that there's more to MS than the medicine.
Finally.
Finally, right? I know. Yeah, do you want to inject yourself every day or every other day? I mean, that was my choice.
Exactly. That was mine too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of course, I went for every day because I was all about the subcutaneous. I'm like, I'm not about to do intramuscular. I was like,
exactly. No, those needles are scary.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, tell us. Okay, so on your blog, it's great. It's full of information. People can go there, get a lot of good inspiration and motivation, which I love. You do these wonderful podcasts, and tell us, you've got some podcasts coming up. You have a new project coming up.
I've got a couple things on the horizon, which is fun. So I started my podcast in, I think it was 2015, and put up 6 podcast episodes, which I love. I'm a podcast addict myself. I'm constantly listening to different podcasts, and I think it's such a wonderful medium because it's so intimate. I had been writing for years, but this is so much more intimate because you're actually like in somebody's ears, and you're right there with them, and it's your voice. I don't know. It feels like a friend is talking to you. So I knew that was something I wanted to learn how to do, which, by the way, no joke, other than labor and delivery, putting together that podcast was the toughest thing I think I've ever done. But I did it, and I loved it, and it gave me entree to people that I wouldn't otherwise probably be able to talk to. So for instance, a lot of people have bowel and bladder issues with MS, and I heard about this, this was a few years ago, I heard about this sort of device called the Squatty Potty, and I got in touch with them and asked them if I could do a podcast with them. I don't think I would have spoken to the CEO of this big company if I just said, hey, I'm Kathy Reagan Young, I have MS, and I have a few questions. But because I said I would like to interview you for this podcast, and by the way, that has happened, the head of neurology for Mayo Clinic. I've never been turned down. If I just called and said, I'm Kathy and I have questions, I think I'd probably get turned down. But I never get turned down. So it provides me entree to these very important people. And I get to ask the questions on behalf of the community. So before I do an interview, I always go, I send out an email to those on my email list, and I also go on my Facebook page and just kind of give a little background on who I'm interviewing and ask if anybody has any questions. So I get to ask all those questions of the person and then put the podcast up. And so I did 6 of those. And then my local area community was going through a really tough time. Our local mall was going through foreclosure. Businesses were leaving like crazy. It was a bad time. And I just decided to jump in and get busy and try and help with that. And I didn't give it a whole lot of thought, but the byproduct of that was I completely ignored FUMS and my podcast for a couple of years. But just recently have come back, and I had so many emails waiting for me about the podcast. People just love the podcast. So I rebooted. I've relaunched. I just put the first new podcast up 2 weeks ago, and I'm editing one right now. In fact, the one I'm editing right now is the CEO of Icuity, like you were just talking about, Chase Spurlock. Nice. So, yeah, and that is so interesting because that's talking about the blood test for as a first diagnostic for MS. And I don't know what your diagnostic story is, but everybody I talk to, they're all different, but they all took a long time, and it was indefinitive. I mean, it was, diagnosis of exclusion rather than a definitive answer. So that's the beauty part of this new Icuity Isolate MS test. And so it's that type of thing that I'm trying to do on this podcast. I've got Martin Shankman coming up. He is an attorney and CPA and financial planner, very successful, and then his wife was diagnosed with MS, and he completely changed his practice and works with chronic illness, people with chronic illnesses, because it's a different, obviously, outlook on life and how you need to structure things financially. So we've got that coming up, interviews about marijuana with a marijuana advocacy group and, what can be done with marijuana and how successful it's been in MSers. And there's all kinds of stuff on the horizon. It's really exciting, and I love doing it. And I've also just recently contracted with Healthline.com to do a podcast for them. They have an app called MS Buddies, and that will include a podcast that I'll be doing for them as well. So I'm in podcast heaven.
I love it. And so much great information. Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to all of your podcasts, especially that financial, how interesting is that going to be? Wow.
Right? I know. I'm interested too. I'm definitely going to be asking a lot of my own personal questions about that one, but.
And remind me, so your website, and I'll put this up, it's FUMSnow.com. And your Facebook page, is it the same? Facebook?
It is. It's FUMS Now, and same thing with Twitter, FUMS Now. Yep.
Good.
All those. And
you can tell the marketing people, right? Girl with MS, we branded. Because that's all I did was marketing. I know. It's like you got to love all the branding people that have come down with MS.
I know. They should probably do a study on that. There's some link between marketing and MS.
MS, I know. I think there is. I know it sounds so funny, but the personality type of who we are.
That's
it's kind of comical because, maybe they could do one of those personality tests and map the brain and all this crazy stuff. Well, this is great. So I want to invite everyone to go to your Facebook page and your website, your blog, and that's where your podcasts are going to be. Is that correct?
Yes, so if you go to FUMSnow.com, on that homepage, you'll see there are tabs, and there's one for the blog, there's one for podcasts, there's one for resources. Oh, there's also, we just published an ebook too. Speaking of bowel and bladder issues, that's available there too, and that's it's a really funny one. I won't. I know this is a family show, so I won't say what the title is. You'll have to go there and check it out, but it's a little bit naughty. But you know, my website is FUMS, so I'm a little irreverent, but that it's got great medical knowledge. I worked with a co-author who is literally a world-renowned pelvic floor dysfunction physical therapist, and she gives great advice on what can be done, what you can do to actually help yourself with exercises and diet. And, you know, she's been doing this for a very long time. And then I just put in my 2 cents worth. So her writing's in like normal Times Roman, you know, font that's black, and mine is some goofy font that's orange, and it's just, you know, little funny.
Oh, neat. Like
little,
so. Yeah, back and forth stuff. That's great. Yeah, so we can get that. I'm seeing it right on your, you can just order it right on your blog. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's right there on that homepage, so.
Wow. Well, thank you again. I am running out of time here, which is so wonderful, and this has been just amazing. I want to remind everybody to also stop by girlwithms.com for tips and tricks to live better with MS. And just thank you again, Kathy. This has been wonderful.
Well, thank you for this, and thank you for all that you do for the MS community. We really appreciate all your advocacy and all of your support and your love. You are an open heart and open spirit, and just so appreciate you, Caroline. Thank you, and thank you for your invitation to be on your show.
Yeah, thank you. This has just been wonderful. God, bringing tears to my eyes, man. Tears, I love it. We're making a difference, man. Make a change, make a difference, and take that, MS.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Take that, MS, and FUMS.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what we say every day at our little mantra, is to get over it. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, this has been great. I really appreciate it. That we can, he'll edit out the end of this, but that was great.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again. I'll let you know when it's posted.
Okay, super. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you thinking of me.
Yeah, you bet. And we'll keep in touch.
And I will be in touch with you because I wanna get you on my podcast for sure.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Absolutely. Okay. That'd be great. Okay. Talk soon.
Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.